This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And we're here Monday through Friday on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and throughout Europe on Radio X. And don't forget, we're also available via satellite on the Digital Broadcast Network and the Digital Satellite Network. You can always find out what's going on in the X-Zone, past, present, and future, by going to our website, xzoneradio.com, and on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. My guest this hour is Hector Lugo, and Hector is a paranormal investigator. And Hector, thanks very much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's great being here with you. First, I guess I need to tell you that I'm Tiano Indian, and that I live here in Kansas City, Missouri, which is quite a ways from my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been investigating ever since, well, I shouldn't say investigating. I had my first encounter with the spirit was when I was 7 years old on the island. And then I had numerous ones ever since then. But really it became fruition back in 1971 in college, University of Maryland, where I had some serious encounters with spirits, with witnesses. About 8 different students were with me when the incidents occurred. And I formed my first group then, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's been well over 45 years since I've been really with a paranormal group.
Now tell us about the 10th Dimension Paranormal Group.
The 10th Dimension Paranormal Group has been around for about 12 to 14 years. Depends on, we were around 2 years before we actually changed our name to 10th Dimension.
Mm-hmm.
It travels all over. We have some members in different parts of the United States. They go to different locations like Europe or maybe Peru or just about anywhere. Our actual 10th Dimension branch out of Kansas City, we travel mostly in the Midwest, where we'll go. We have been to the East Coast. We've been down to the South, North Carolina, Florida. Mm-hmm. We've been quite a few places, and our goal, our objective is to find out one question: is there life after death, and to verify.
How do you intend on doing that?
Well, we've done quite a bit of research. Most of that is based on research. We go out with our members and we try to gain as much evidence as possible,
mm-hmm.
Whether it be with equipment. But the most important thing we have found over the years is that the people in our group is the most important piece of equipment that we have. Now, we don't have everybody that has abilities. We don't have no psychics per se.
Right.
We have people that can feel and sense and maybe even hear or see an occasional spirit. Like myself, I'll see them and hear them quite often. But that alone does not verify that we have entities present. We need to document it. Because, the science side, you have to have physical proof. And we're from Missouri. You got to show me.
Yeah,
So,
well,
but- right.
yeah, well, I'm from Canada, and I want to see the proof too. So, how do you present the proof of the paranormal? Like, there are over 16,000 different groups in the United States that claim to be paranormal investigators. Some of them have been investigating 15, 20 years, and still no proof. How come?
Well, I don't know if it's the lack of proof is what people believe, the skeptics out there. What is proof? I mean, with the camera and the equipment you have now, a lot of it says it's fake, fraud, it's been made because of the digital iPods or whatever. We put out EVPs, and we've been doing this for years. We got some incredible EVPs or voices of spirits. They actually call me by name, and I'll be the only male there with two females, and I have a male subject speaking with me, calling me by name. To me, that's proof, but to put it out there on the internet and say, this is proof that I have, you decide. That's what we always say is you tell us what you think it is, because you weren't present. You weren't there. You don't know what the environment was about or who the spirit was, who was there. So same with pictures. You look at some of our pictures on our website, they're incredible. But you weren't there, and it's hard to prove. They say they were photoshopped. You can't argue with that. All you can do is present it and let them decide.
All right, Hector, stand by. We've got to take our first break. Exxon Nation, Hector Lugo is our special guest this hour. He's with 10th Dimension Paranormal Group. Their website is 10thdimensionparanormalgroup.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise Retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at www.drgibbswilliams.com. Welcome back, everyone. The question I'm asking tonight is there proof of life after death, or is the proof manifested by those who are seeking the fact, or to try to establish the fact that there is life after death? Hector, when doing the investigation into life after death, when do you cross a line between being disrespectful to the dead, or the other line is where you're just searching to find answers?
Well, the most important thing, and this is the requirement of our group, is we do not provoke.
Mm-hmm.
These are entities, these are spirits that the difference between them and us is that they don't have the load of carrying a body. It's like metamorphosis, a cocoon going into a butterfly. This is another stage of the life. You know, being Indian, we have the birth, death, rebirth theory, and the spirits are that rebirth part. They're here, they communicate with us. I mean, it's just it's hard to explain because I've been on the other side. I had a life after death experience, so I can, focus on that a little more.
Wait a sec. Hold on.
Yeah.
Here, let me just stop you. You had a life after death experience.
Right.
So what's the difference between a near-death experience and life after death? A life after death experience.
Well, maybe I should say near-death experience because I did die. I was on the table. I was dead for quite a while. And three things happened in that process. When I died, I did go to a particular area. I don't know if I have enough time to explain it to you, but when I crossed over, there was no light, no tunnel. I just appeared in front of a great wall that was like a river, but it was vertical and horizontal at the same time, and it was gold and white, and I was on the very edge, and I was like in an invisible box, no body, just me, but to the right of me was a figure on the stairs and a pillar, and he was doing something, and I was just watching what's going on, listening, and just in awe, because it's the greenest green, the colors were so vivid, and the warmth, and the love was just incredible. I can't describe it. And then next thing I know, I came back, and I was with my wife in the ICU, and then I hear the voice, do you want to stay or do you want to go back? And my first thought was, who answered that for me? Because I don't recall hearing the question. That was the first part. And about 3 days while I was in the hospital, and this is a massive heart attack. I'm talking about, 33% of my heart is damaged. And the doctors come in, and they're in awe, and all three of them are standing there. And maybe I should back up. When I was in the surgery table, the doctor said that when I came to, they said, Hector, you were dead, but we saw something that is beyond anything we recognized before. All three doctors said that they saw something going to the top of my head, and I was white as could be. They said that they saw me turn red all the way. They followed all the way down my body to my toes. And when it reached my toes, I woke up, and I looked at them. That's what they were doing in my house. And that's when they started laughing and said, hey, you're in our house. We're here doing surgery, and you just came back from the dead. And they took me to a room, and they did some other procedures. And about 3 days later, they come back, and they're in awe. They're just, because my brother had died a few years previous to this with a heart attack. So they're coming back, and they're looking at me, and they're looking at papers. And all three are just staring at me, and I'm like, oh, I need a heart transplant or something, because this is pretty bad. And the doctor looked and shows me a picture, and he goes, this is your heart we took 3 days ago. Look at all the white around the lower part. That's complete heart damage. And that heart is a muscle. It doesn't repair itself. And I'm like, okay, is this bad? He goes, well, look at the second picture we took yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, we don't know what to think. We don't know what's happening here. He showed me the second picture, and there was absolutely no damage to my heart. It had repaired 100%. And they couldn't explain it medically. And that's when they asked me if I was willing to do an afterlife death survey. They had somebody that would fly in that would interview me. And they did that for 2 or 3 days. They did that bunch of questions. That was the first part. The second part was about 10 years later. I was sleeping in bed about 3 in the morning. And this is the same individual that was up there, in, I want to say heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was in the one at the pillar. He was the one sitting there with the left leg stretched out, his right knee bent up. And I couldn't look. He would not let me look to my right. I could look center to left, but not directly at him. But I knew, I had a good idea that he had a robe and long hair. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, this figure out of nowhere, out of the blue, 3 in the morning, appeared and just came down, and he said something. And I'm like, what? So I wrote it down, and that was the end of it. The next one I woke up, looked at what I wrote. I remember I did it. And on that paper was the saying, and here's what he told me. He said, meanness is a means to an end. Kindness is the road to eternity. And the first thing I did was I ran into my wife and I told her, look, you know I'm not smart enough to come up with this. I'm not very religious. I don't go to church. I'm Native American.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with this? And I sent it to 3 different priests, different Baptists, Lutheran and Catholic, and asked them if they could find the scripture for me anywhere. And I let it go for 3 or 4 months. And they all 3, I eventually met up with them and I said, hey, did you find anything on that saying? And they go, no, we can't find that anywhere. Where'd you get it? And then when I explained to them where it came from, what happened, they were just like, wow, you had an angelic visit. For that reason, I believe that there's an afterlife. I believe that there's a place that you go to. And what's kind of strange about it is I'm Native American. I believe in Father Heaven, and I believe, different beliefs. I believe that everything has a spirit and soul. And I do believe in God, and I believe in Jesus. And I just think that particular that experience really broadened things for me. Now, here's the third part, is I was always able to see spirits and hear them, kind of. I couldn't control it, never happened. But now, after that incident, it's like I can go to an investigation, and they're like touching me, and they're like asking me, how's this possible? You're one of us. How did you get to go back and not us? And I get the pictures that we have on our site or on our Facebook, wherever.
Right.
Actual pictures that I'll take. We have photographers, we have a team, and they may take 400 or 500 pictures each, and I may take 10, and I'll get the spirit, and they actually have me stand in the corner so they can get pictures of something in the area. And I can't explain it. All I know is that I claim not to be intuitive or anything like that. They come to me, I don't go to them. I'm there, and I just, but I'm a believer. That's what I'm planning.
So did your psychic awakening or spiritual awakening happen after that third part of your heart attack?
Well, it enhanced it. I focused more on it, and it was like a message. It's like, okay, this is what you got to do. You got to go back. Because I avoided it. I mean, back in 1971, I was met by a pretty much a world famous psychic that I don't know how she found it. She met me. That's a different story altogether. And she told me that 40, 50 years down the road, I would have something very strange happen that would make me believe in the paranormal and become, really focused on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to fruition. I mean, it happened, and that had a little bit. It's a combination of a lot of things over the last 50 years that really made this thing what it is today. I don't claim to be any better than anybody else out there. It's just that there's a connection between that side and me because of my afterlife experience, more so than ever before.
So having had this experience, you apparently know what you believe or believe what you know. Why do you still seek an answer that apparently you've already come to a conclusion and answered yourself?
It's not an answer that I'm seeking now.
All right, what answer are you seeking now?
What I truly believe now is that this, hard to explain here, hang on a second. The spirit world needs just as much assistance as the human world. We're captains of our own souls. We're like a battery generating our spirit and soul, and knowledge is one of the most important things that you have. The more you learn, the better off you'll be. And whether it be religion or, it doesn't matter what religion you are, you're there to serve your soul and your spirit. And I truly believe that some of these people don't do it right, or for whatever reason, something happens when they die, and they're stuck in, like, better terminology, limbo, purgatory, or earthbound spirits. And I think that the angelic side, that spirits are on the side, whether it be a spirit guide or an angel, are really, really trying to help all the spirits out there. You're looking at centuries and centuries dead people's spirits, that sometimes they assign, or they have people on this side Earth that are destined to help those spirits also to get to where they need to go, or at least make them feel safer and better while they're here waiting for spiritual guidance and instructions. And I think that's what my objective here on Earth is right now, is to help not only the living but the deceased spirits that we encounter.
But isn't that the job of religious people, ministers, pastors, rabbis?
That's been the concept with the perception. Sometimes perception is reality. I don't think you necessarily need a piece of paper or a title to say that you can't help somebody. The Native Americans have been doing it for 1,000, 10,000 years. And there's so much. I think that, let me ask you this. I don't go to church. I used to be an altar boy. Don't get me wrong. I believe in God and Jesus. I used to be an altar boy till I was 16. And then I quit. But I haven't been to church in 40 years other than for wedding or special occasion. If I didn't go to church, why did I get to go up and meet, I'm going to call him Jesus or an angelic figure, and they come back and meet me 10 years later and give me that saying? There's got to be more than just religion to your continuing your journey. Now, I'm not saying religion is wrong or bad. It's good. It's just that it's one of maybe many elements that you need, parts that you need to continue your journey.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation, Hector Lugo is our special guest, and the website is 10th Dimension Paranormal Group. That's the number 10, TH, Dimension Paranormal Group.com. And we'll both be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Send me your emails, xzone@xzoneradio.com. Tell me whether you're a believer or a skeptic, and tell me why. My name's Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net. Shamanism is recognized as a method to access the quantum level. Mastery of shamanic skills puts spiritual information and healing power into your hands. Path Home Shamanic Art School, a bonded Colorado certified occupational school, has met rigorous state standards, ensuring its director and instructors have the qualifications to teach the shamanic arts. Path Home offers its certification program in blocks of study. Block 1, a 5-day intensive, will be held in the beautiful mountain town of Coaldale, Colorado, October 13th through 18th. Registration deadline is September 12th. Experience journey trance, power animals, helping spirits, sacred space, and life purpose. Come discover your power. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, in the magical world of shamanism. Call 303-775-3431 or visit findyourpathhome.com.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. By the way, starting Monday, that's just 2 days away, we are launching a new website. It's called xzonesurveys.com. And on there will be surveys that are broken up into different departments. There's a survey group for UFOs. There's a survey group for ghosts. There's a survey group for near-death experiences. There's a survey group for New Age. There's a survey group for shamanism and much more. And that's at www.xzonesurveys.com. My guest this hour is Hector Lugo, and he is with 10th Dimension Paranormal Group. And let me ask you something, Hector. Has there ever been a time when you and the group has been out doing an investigation and you got the hell scared right out of you?
Actually, there's a couple of times, but actually one in particular.
Okay.
We were on the East Coast tour just this past June, and we were at the Octagon Hall, last June. We were at the Octagon Hall in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 6, 7 of us, and of course, we're talking about a Confederate location. It has the cemetery. It has a octagon-shaped building that's like basement, 3 stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in there, and I forgot my recorder. So I go back into the building looking for my recorder, and I told the people I'll be right back. And I walk in, and I'm looking, and I come out of the room where they have all their video equipment and audio equipment set up with their own particular group, not ours, so it's not hooked up. And across from that hallway, there's a little landing, there's stairs going up to the left, and there's a gift shop directly across from me. And all of a sudden, I see these 2 shadows walking, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, they're right in my face, and they're tall, and they loud as clear as can be. One of them looked at me and said, "You shouldn't be doing that. You need to leave now." And I said, I just raised my hands and I said, okay. And I hung a left and the door was open. I walked right out. And the rest of the group is standing there. And here I am. Of course, I'm kind of dark skinned because I'm Native American. I
Yeah.
walked out. Everybody's just come running up to me like, what happened? What's wrong? You're the ghost. And I'm like, you won't believe it just happened. So they went back inside with me to look at the radio and see what they can encounter that.
Right.
We were in the living room of where they have all their artifacts, guns and arrowheads and all that. And Edna, my sister, was with me, and she goes, Hector, look to the left. And I said, what? I said, look. She said, I looked and I said, I don't see nothing. She goes, there was just a tall figure with a gray coat standing there. And I go, well, the one I saw was tall. It wasn't, I don't know if he had a gray coat or not, but that's the exact spot where he was at. And that's probably the most scared I've ever been because I did not expect it. I did not expect somebody to come up and tell me to leave and for no reason. That was, the funniest scare. Now, there's been some serious scares where I've had entities come at me and do stuff, but that one really surprised me.
So tell me, how do you get rid of an unwanted negative entity in somebody's house, whether it be a negative spirit, negative ghost, negative shadow person, or even a demon? How do you do it?
Well, what we do is we go up and when we do our initial interview, we ask the individual, the client, that's, I guess I can refer to as, what is it you want us to do? And when we do find out what kind of spirit it is, that, we find out it's a relative of yours, how do you want to deal with it? I mean, and a lot of times when they find out it's relative, we'll make rules or regulations for them to deal with the entity and it'll be okay living together. But if you want to get rid of a spirit that doesn't belong or has no business there, just an earthbound spirit, for example, I generally start off with just saying, simple as, hey, there's a church up the street. It's going to have a funeral here in a few days. And when they have the funeral, there's going to be a white light or a golden light for that individual. You're more than welcome to walk over there and just walk into that light with them. That's the first simple step. Now, if it gets beyond that, we'll do a sage. Then we do what they call a 7-day candle cleansing, which we're in the process of doing right now. And then we also do, if it comes down to it, the last thing we do is not quite it's an Indian deliverance. Best way to describe it. That's where we contact different Indian tribes, say the Cherokee Nation, or the Potawatomi, or the Osage tribes. We'll get together and we'll make special prayers and arrangements to deal with that particular energy. We have a special ceremony that we utilize. But that's the last resort because that is so strong and it just involves so much. But it works. It works if we need to go to that. It hasn't failed us yet.
Where do demons come from?
That's a question that I think is going to be better answered by the religious people because I don't believe in demons per se. Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that I've never encountered one. And if they do exist, I like to know what the definition of a demon is. I mean, is it a non-compliant spirit that makes noises?
Well, I would imagine that if you've seen the movie, what was the name of that movie, Craig? The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. Yeah.
Where
actually, we got Steve LeChance coming to our conference, and he's the one that worked on The Exorcist. I've talked to some other demonologists and stuff about what a demon consists of. I've got some incredible pictures. We even did a national show on what we thought was a demon with a and that one was documented. We got pictures, and if there's any proof of a demon, that should have been it, but it wasn't what I thought it'd be. It wasn't aggressive toward men, but it sure did a lot of damage to the women. I mean, he attacked those women to where it got beyond it. It's hard to describe. That's the closest I ever come to a demon, per se.
Do you find that there is any one religious philosophy that it has more experience with ghosts or spirits than any other one? For example, would it be Catholicism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam?
When we go to Religion Factor, we go to investigate a house.
Right.
The first thing we do look at is whether they have crosses or angelic figures, and try to make out what type of religious beliefs that these individuals have. And the reason I bring this up is because we have to remember, we don't know what religion or belief that the spirit has that's creating all this activity. Now, the Catholics do the exorcism, and it's a long process. Um, the Kabbalah. I mean, there's so many different beliefs, but they all derive from the same thing, that Jesus was removing spirits or bad demons, according to what they were saying in the Bible, from people. I mean, and he taught his apostles, disciples, how to do that, and that was passed on to people. Now, do we do it according to how they did it back then? I don't know if we're doing it the right way, but I think a lot of it has to do with a strong faith and a good intent. So your religious beliefs probably will help you out in that, removing the spirits. First thing is you got to have a strong faith.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Muslim, I don't care if you're Catholic or Christian or whatever. If you don't have that faith, it's pretty much a done game, a done deal. You're not going to have much of a chance.
Tell me, does the fact that you're a Native American give you that extra strength or that extra ability to deal with spirits, since Native American culture is very emerged in spirituality?
Yeah, we believe that the belief of a lot of the Native American tribes is that everything pretty much has a spirit, a soul, to different degrees. The human being the highest, and of course there's Father Heaven, Mother Earth. If we have different things that we go by, the red road. That's what we want to do. Is we want to get all these lost or spirits that get off the road back on it and lead them. We believe that we have an advantage over these spirits because they are, most of the spirits you run into are earthbound spirits. Or they're going to be spirits guide helping you with these earthbound spirits that are creating havoc or confused. They don't understand what's going on. They're here for whatever reason. And when we deal with them, and we're very positive. We don't provoke. We don't, our firm belief is you get more with a piece of candy than you do with a rock.
Right.
So we go up there and we treat them as human beings that we just can't see.
Well, isn't that the way that any person who is trying to find out what the other side is really about should treat these spirits like, because they are just human beings without a body?
Right, and I think a lot of it too, we have to remember too that when I talk about spirits and ghosts, sometimes I refer to them as entities, because animals also have spirits, whether it be a dog or a cat or a horse or a cow. Sometimes you run into them, and it's a different ballgame altogether when you're dealing with those type of entities or spirits. With a human spirit, respect, you can't go wrong with respect and treating entities, with love and trying to tell them that, hey, we're here to help you and this is what we're going to do. I was part to tell them we got pictures, video equipment going, we got cameras, we got a digital recorder, what we're doing, so that they will cooperate with us and not, hide from us or do strange things to us.
So, how do you deal with the possibility that what people may believe is a spirit could actually be a figment of their imagination? How do you deal with that?
That is a very good, excellent question, because we do it. Okay, we have nurses and doctors that we confer with, actually part of our group, honorary group. They don't go very often, but they go enough. And we have a psychiatrist that goes with us occasionally. And what we do is when we go do our initial interview, our first meet, when we sign all the forms and proper paperwork, we get to meet them face to face, and that tells you an awful lot. Even talking to them on the phone, because I've had people crying and yelling. I have demons in my house, and I have this and that. And the first thing it is, calm down. There may be something going on, but tell me a little bit more about you. Why do you think there's demons there? Are you drinking, or is there something going on?
Right.
And then a lot of places we go to, and I'll tell you, there's been a few times we've walked into houses. We'll do a quick, brief meet, and we'll say, well, we don't find nothing right here because you know the symptoms of alcoholism, drug abuse, and we don't want to be around that. If it's real obvious, we pack it up and we leave quick as possible. Not to be mean to them, we try to let them know, but it's just like, we don't find anything. It's, just like, you can't tell them it's imagination. They're being influenced by outside sources. It's just, being polite and leaving and saying, hey, and then we met some people that are, the imagination is incredible. I had one particular, now I'm not going to mention no names or location. This person told me that they were getting beams of light from the atom collider in Sweden that's like a mile underground. They were shooting beams and hitting her in her house. And we're like, okay. And she says, and there's something out here flying around out back. And we go out back and there's birds and there's a barn back there with lights. And we're like, okay, you know what? Let's do this differently. And, you know, there's ways to back out of things that are, you know, obviously not right. Some have been right on the borderline, on the fence, where you really have to investigate. You really have to ask questions. We got 40 questions we ask. We'll tell them straight up front. It's not about you. We need these answers. And we'll ask them. They've been in the psychiatric ward. Have they ever been alcoholic? Have they ever been wanting to hurt somebody? Or, you know, they're having problems with marriage? We need to know that when it comes to whether they want to really deal with this entity that they're having. And believe it or not, most of them answer the questions, and they do have. We've had a couple of serious encounters that we just, beyond our, it affected our imagination because we didn't expect it.
Now, what are you said that you get them to sign paperwork. What kind of paperwork do people need to sign before you conduct an investigation?
Well, we have a couple of forms. One first form is compliance or giving us approval that we can do the investigation. Also, we give them options. Like one of the options would be strictly confidential, no name, no address. Partially confidential, where we give the address and maybe the state and the city. And then there's one that says all-inclusive TV, newspapers, on Facebook, on our website. And most of the people go for that. They call us and we tell them we want to help. It's not to promote our site. It's to let other people know that they can get help by seeing what's happening at your place. And that's work. We've had a lot of people say, we read our website, say, we think we're having the same thing on one of your stories there, you know, cases. And that's what we signed. Another form that we signed is a liability consent form for us. That when we go in, they're not responsible for one of us getting hurt. You know, we all have to insured. We're going to go in there with the purpose of destroying stuff. We think, especially we go into like a I've been in locations where the stage alone was $13 million worth of different screens and stuff. So we go in and we sign a consent that we will not do this or that and try to, you know, work well with the different, you know, clients or people.
Now you said before that a lady was saying that she was blaming basically the paranormal activity that was happening from something in Scandinavia, or was she talking about the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland?
Right, that's one in Switzerland, right.
Okay.
She was saying that the collider in Switzerland was sending rays and it was hitting her house. And we're looking at a neighborhood that has like 100 houses, and we're like, how do they pick you out and how this is happening? And the more we talk to her, the further out she gets. And it just, I even have one guy that called me about a 3-hour drive, went out there, and he says, I'm seeing spots, I'm seeing orbs in my garage. Got out there, drove all the way out there, and he's sitting in his garage, and he's looking directly at the sun. And I'm like, dude, you're going to see spots no matter what. Those aren't orbs. You're going to blind yourself. And I'm like, I drove 3 hours and started going off about this and that, and I'm like, have a good day. You know, it's just one of those where I got in the car and drove off. And so you get them, but most of the time, I'll say about 99 out of 100 times, most people are really, really think they're experiencing something, and they just want an answer or confirmation. And if they do get confirmation, they want, sometimes if it isn't a relative, they'll want us to do a cleanse, and we do that to help them out.
Well, you certainly have had your fill of wingnuts over the years, haven't you?
Oh, I'm telling you, it just makes it so. That's what makes it so interesting. Is the different people you meet, the different beliefs, and, you know. But I have to honestly say something. Of all these years, and I want to say in the last 40 years, never ever have I ever had somebody come up to me, and this is with conferences and this is with fundraisers. I've never had anybody come up and tell me I'm crazy or you're stupid for doing this. Most of the people are like, wow, this is interesting. They were on the fence or they're skeptics. We have skeptics in our group, and they're the best. I tell you what, when we do something they can't debunk, it just brings a grin to the couple of our faces because we're like, okay, that helps us out more than anything, you know. And the reason I do it every week, last year we did 52 cases. That's one a week. And the reason I keep doing it is basically for confirmation, to prove that what happened last week, it wasn't just imagination or pictures of my imagination. It really is happening. And that's, now this is my opinion.
All right, Hector, we're going to have to take our final break. Please stand by. Hector Lugo is our special guest this hour, X Zone Nation. I apologize for the audio coming back from Hector. There must be a bad Skype day in that part of the U.S. We'll be back on the other side, and if you'd like to find out more about Hector and his group, 10th Dimension Paranormal Group.com, and we'll be back on the other side. Don't go away.
As host of Dialogue with Divinity, I am thrilled to join the X Zone Broadcast Network and their growing number of affiliates. My quest for a connection to the divine ignited my successful career path as an international spiritual counselor for over 40 years, an author of 4 books, and well-known metaphysical educator. My clients call me their spiritual mama. So my job is to offer you a radio show to help you grow spiritually with wisdom and get specific tools from guests who are experts in their field. Tune in to Dialogue with Divinity and be part of the conversation with Spirit. My goal, your happy soul. For more information, please visit my website at johannacarroll.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Hector Lugo is our special guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. He is with 10th Dimension Paranormal Group, and their website is 10thdimensionparanormalgroup.com. Hector, what words of wisdom do you have for the X-Zone Nation tonight when it comes to dealing with the paranormal?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with these new groups or the older groups, and everybody can learn from each other. Sharing is important. But I think for these new groups that are getting started, getting ready to go out there, you really have to be prepared. Have a strong faith, good intent, and go out there and just be careful. Know what you're doing. And, you know, if you believe in ghosts being present or that there's something there, believe in God, because God created them. God created everything in this universe. We're not the only things around. So if you're going to go out and investigate the other side and try to communicate with them, just be prepared and be careful. And another thing you got to remember is the group members are the most important part of your paranormal group. The chemistry has to be incredible and it has to be good. It can get boring, it can be tedious at times, but for those of you that want to sit in a room or sit in a building or location for hours on end just investigating and get nothing, it can get to be, you know, when you get on each other a little bit. So the chemistry has to be really strong and knowledge. I can't emphasize that enough.
Now, Hector, there's a lot of different television programs on these days about Ghostbusters and paranormal investigating. Some of them are so hideous, I don't know why they're on TV. When it comes to these shows, are they an asset to legitimate investigators, or are they a nuisance?
To me, it's actually a handicap. And I have to give kudos to the groups like TAMP that started it, got the TV, got people interested in the paranormal per se. But that's the end of it. I mean, a lot of these, I got 3 different subtitles for the spirit paranormal groups. There's the beginners group, which are high school and college kids that tend to go out to the cemetery and get themselves in trouble. Then you have the TV groups that are out there making money and doing whatever they do to try to. They start out with good intent, but then they end up, it's all about money, and they falsify some things.
Sure.
Then you have groups like ours that have been doing it for tons of years that are actually going out there and trying to help people and get this thing. I'm not saying we're better, it's just we're doing it for different reasons. I've been on TV numerous times. I've done shows, and I know where it's coming from, and it's hard. It really is. When you're put in one location for 40 hours, and you have to come up with evidence, and if there's nothing there, and you do that 4 or 5 locations in a row, you don't have a show. I mean, so I'm not saying that they're falsified all the time, but it's hard. It really is. Where we get to pick, and we go out, and if we don't like or the location don't have anything, we move on to the next. And we just say that location has nothing on it. But we have options. They don't. But I think that a lot of the TV shows are not really doing anything. They got one coming up that's Ghost Brothers, and they got Mountain Man or something, and then they got somebody in Tennessee that's blowing up stuff and blowing up the spirits. Come on.
Yeah. They're going off the deep end now because...
Yeah, they really are.
They have to keep on trying to come up with stuff that hasn't been done before. Hector, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Once again, X-Zone Nation, I apologize for the poor quality of the audio feed coming from Hector's. We tried to rectify it, but this is what happens with Skype. When bandwidth is being used, the quality is crap. And people nowadays want cell phones. And cell phones for real radio are crap. In fact, we tell our guests that if they have a cell phone, sorry, won't work. If they have high-speed internet or fiber optic, we'll try Skype. My preference, the good old-fashioned landline. I'll be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.